financing, and home buyer ready. I am Barbara Grant, your host, and
I'm Jackie Abrams.
And we are so excited that you came back and to see us today. Right, Jackie?
Yes, we had such a great time last week.
Yes, we did. We had our studio audience here with us. We were so excited. We told a little bit about ourselves. We told about some things that we have upcoming. We're going to go on that roller coaster ride, going uphill. We're going to try and help you become home buyer ready. So we are so excited with all the information that we have in store for you. And we also gave you information on how to reach out to us. So we're going to come back, we're going to get started, and we're going to give you all the information you need to become home buyer ready. So get ready and stay tuned, and we will be right back.
Hello, my name is Tania McQueen. I'm the Residential Services Manager for Prestige Community Resources.
What our new facilities are respite centers. We're opening 2 in the city right now. Hopefully we'll expand to more. But respite centers are a place where people can come and get a little additional support with their mental health. Our one on Eastern Avenue is for men, and our one on Minnesota Avenue is for women. Our facilities are for all DC residents, especially focusing in on those in Wards 7 and 8. So they're really nice, and I'm excited for consumers to actually see them. What are the services that we're going to provide? Therapy, case management, medication management, all provided by professional staff, a licensed nurse practitioner, psychiatrists, sociologists, social workers, and then our paraprofessionals, our case managers. It's just a place where you can come and get the supports that you need to work on your personal goals, as well as to get your mental health straight. Simple, single adult, 18 years of age or older, a DC resident. You need to have insurance, but if you don't have it, it's okay. Still come, we'll work on getting you insurance. Have to have a negative COVID test, a negative TB test, and be willing to work on your mental health. For more information about respite services, you can contact us at 202-796-5000 or hit us up on our website at www.prestigecommunityresources.org.
Okay, thank you. So Barbara, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, Jackie, we're going to be talking about today what everybody has been wanting to talk about. We're going to talk about credit and credit scores. So we're going to try to help people understand that little 3-digit number that gets everybody in an uproar, right?
It does. It
Doesn't
really
it though?
does. It does.
Everybody wants to know, what is my credit score? Why is this number so important? What does it even matter? Why does everybody look at this number and look at you and think, wow, if this number is a certain number, I'm not worthy. But I'm going to go through all of that today. Jackie and I are going to help you, and we're going to try to get through this. Now,
I like how you said that word. You said you're not worthy. So
yes.
That's a perfect segue into being credit worthy.
Credit worthy.
Credit worthy. Yes.
Credit worthy.
Yes.
But even being credit worthy doesn't mean that you're not worthy.
That's right. You're right about that.
Of purchasing a home, right?
You're absolutely right.
So we don't want you to be afraid of not wanting to get out there and try to see what your credit scores are, because that's the fear that everybody has.
Yes.
They don't know what their credit is.
And sometimes when they don't know, they have the score that would make them qualified or eligible,
Yes.
but they don't even know that. So they're out there still struggling to get it higher and higher, and they've been there for maybe a year. Who knows?
They've been there.
They've been there.
They have no clue what their credit scores are. So we're going to talk to you today about what that 3-digit number is. We're going to talk about some different websites that you can go to understand.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's fine.
To interrupt you.
They're asking the same question.
But I'm glad you said that,
Yes.
because I'm sure you're going to tell them it's not just one number.
It's not just one
It's
number.
not just one.
It's not one number. It's 3 numbers and 3 different scores,
That's right.
right? And it comes from 3 different credit bureaus. And if you all don't know, the 3 different credit bureaus are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Those are the main 3 credit scores. And those are the scores that you should be looking at to see what your scores are. Now, the one thing that I mainly want to talk to you about, see, we're talking about mortgages and being home buyer ready. So mortgage companies use FICO scores. There are other scores out there. So I just want to really focus in on the scores that Jackie and I would be using to get you home buyer ready. So we're going to talk about FICO scores. FICO scores, the Fair Isaac Company.
Is that what that stands for?
That's what that stands for.
Wow.
Everybody calls it FICO, F-I-C-O,
That's right.
but it is FICO scores. And the Fair Isaac Company, about 25, 30 years ago, they designed these scores to see if somebody would be a credit risk. Now, what a credit risk means, if I give you money, what are you going to look like? What do you look like on paper to show me that if I loan you some money, how well are you going to pay that back to me? It's just as simple as that. And there's different categories that they look at to see if you are considered a credit risk. So those three numbers and those three credit bureaus, they do this just to help lenders decide whether or not you will be a credit risk to them and how big of a credit risk. Because some lenders, FICO scores can be lower for them, and some lenders, FICO scores can be higher for them. For example, let's talk about FHA. FHA is the Federal Housing Authority. So I'm going to give you a little tip right now. Everybody looks at FHA as the first-time home buyer.
Yes.
Whenever somebody calls us, I'm a first-time home buyer. FHA. FHA, well, it's not a first-time home buyer program. It's not. But it is used for people that are first-time home buyers. But you could be a second-time home buyer as well to use FHA. You just cannot have another property. So say you had a property, you sold it, you could go FHA again. But a lot of people look at that as the first-time home buyer property. I bet you didn't know, well, you know, but I bet you didn't know that you can buy a home with FHA as low as 500 credit scores.
That's what I've heard.
Are you jumping up and down now? I almost jumped up and down. I almost jumped, because I know you're jumping up and down. Now, don't get too excited. There's credit risk involved, right, Jackie? There's some risk involved here.
With the 500 score, definitely.
There's some credit risk involved. But it's not impossible. And some of that risk may be, if, say for instance, you had a bankruptcy and you're starting to build your credit back up, okay? Maybe your credit's a little bit new. Or maybe you had some derogatory things on your credit report, but you paid them off. But it still takes time for those things on your credit report to work itself through to bring your credit scores back up. Now with a 500 score, you have to put more money down. But we're not going to really get into that right now because that's not what I want you to focus on. Let's get back to talking about the 3-digit number, the FICO score. Okay? The 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion. What was that third one again?
That third one is Experian.
Experian. She thought I was testing her, but I know that she already knows. I know she already knows. But if she had gotten it wrong, you guys would have known as well. You would have seen it right here with me if she had gotten this wrong. But she didn't get it wrong. Woo, I am so thankful that she did not get it wrong right here with me. But yes, those are the 3 credit scores that we're going to talk about and the 3 bureaus that we're going to talk about. So the FICO scores, they come in a 500 score in the FICO world. If you have a 500 score, that's considered poor. If you have a FICO score of 500, it's considered poor. If you have a FICO score between 580 and 669, they're considering that a fair FICO score, just fair. And if you're 670 to 739, you're in the range of a good FICO. And then a 740 to 799, you're very good. And then above that, you're exceptional. Okay? Now, in the mortgage world, if We have a program that can go down to 500. You know we have a program that can go 580. You know we have a program to go to 600. You know we have a program to go to 620. You know we have a program to go to 640, and so on and so on.
So basically you're saying it covers everyone.
It covers everyone.
Yes. There just may be some
Yes.
other hoops you might have to jump, but it does cover everyone.
It does
Gotcha.
cover everyone. Yes. But because of the risk involved, like Jackie just said, it may be some other things that you have to prove or that you have to show in order to get the mortgage. So you may have to show, yes, I'm paying my things on time. And if you still have some debt or some collections, you may have to pay those things off. But when you come to myself or Jackie normally asks you questions about that up front before she even sends you to me. We talked about that last week.
We did.
We talked about the email that Jackie, if you decide to go with me, Jackie will do an introductory email, and she will tell me in the email that she has discussed this with you. And if you feel like there's some credit challenges, she'll tell you to get in contact with me, and she will tell you where to go to get your credit report. She gives you all that up front, because Jackie and I have discussed that. So she figures, well, prior to you going to Barbara, do a little homework yourself, get it to Barbara, then let Barbara look at it and help you prior to you actually coming back to me and looking for a home. So that's something that we've built in to what we do.
Yes.
And I think that works pretty well.
It does. It works.
So we have our clients, sometimes if they think that they're not sure about their credit, we have them pull their credit reports for us. And I go ahead and I look at their credit report, and I can look at their credit report and I can kind of tell where they might be. But I also may give you a little bit of information where you can get a free FICO score. And further on down the line, I'm going to give you all those tips. I'm going to give you all that information where you can get that. I just want to make sure that we break down the FICO score so that you can understand. Now, for the mortgage world, the FICO scores that mortgage lenders will use will be a FICO score 2, a FICO score 4, or a FICO score 5. Now you say, Barbara, what's the difference between a FICO score 2, 4, and 5?
That myself.
Not much.
Okay. Okay.
It's just that FICO score is 2. Then came along FICO score 4
Okay.
and 5. And what that is, it's the same thing as a computer system. Every time Windows updates their computer system, they give it a new number. And they may add a couple of little things in that computer system. Now, I'm not an IT techie person, so I may be talking a little out of, so I don't need IT people calling me and saying you're talking the wrong thing. But I think you get my drift, right?
Yes.
So Windows 8 to Windows 10 give you a little bit of something more. Okay, so when they changed the FICO number, it probably increased the risk or it lessened the risk. So it goes on the economy and what's going on. So for instance, let's talk about 2008.
Okay.
Now, most of you may remember in 2008 when everything kind of crashed, the mortgage industry kind of crashed. I don't remember exactly what FICO was actually being used at that time, but because the things that were happening and the economy was changing, people were losing jobs, they were losing their homes, so credit scores were going down. So therefore, they became riskier candidates to even get mortgages, cars, loans, whatever. So therefore, the FICO score had to change in order to include those risks into their scores. So what they may have done, they may have said, well, instead of someone with a 680, we'll take somebody with a 640. And we may be able to give them a better interest rate at a 640 than we normally would have given them at a 680. So don't always think that because you have the highest score that you're getting the better interest rate. Of course, your scores do determine how good your interest rates are, but there are a lot of other variables that go into that. And I'll talk to you about that because it's called the 4 C's.
Okay. The 4 C's.
It's called the 4 C's. In the mortgage world, it's called the 4 C's. And we're going to talk about the 4 C's. I'm going to give you all the information on the 4 C's to tell you what mortgage lenders look at when we're determining whether or not we're going to give you a loan for a mortgage. Now, we have a lot of systems. There's a lot of mortgage systems out there that when we put all your information, those systems do those things for you, or for us rather. They do those things for us. But even if I'm looking at a credit report and I'm asking you for certain documentation, I can look at those things as well. And I can basically tell whether or not the system that I'm using at that time is going to accept all your documentation, and I get an automatic approval for you, or that there may be some things that you may have to do. And that's with all lenders. That's not just with me, that's with all lenders. So not all the time, just because you have 1 or 2 blemishes on your credit report, doesn't mean that you cannot get it through and get a mortgage. It just depends on how hard that lender is working for you and how hard that realtor is working for you as well. Because a lot of times, realtors push for you too. They ask, can you help them? What can you do for them? What can they do to get the mortgage? What do they need to do? What can they pay off? I've had not only Jackie, I've had several agents ask me that. Barbara, I heard that they couldn't get the mortgage. What can they do to get the mortgage? Have you been able to tell them? Well, I always tell them what they can do. Now, it's a choice whether or not they go back and tell the realtor that I've had that conversation with them, because that's confidential. But they have a choice to go back to the realtor and have that conversation with them. Now, if they give me authorization to have that conversation, I will have that conversation. So I just want you to know one important thing. Sometimes bad things happen to good people.
Would you repeat that?
Bad things sometimes happen to good people. And not all the time does that mean that your situation is so bad that you feel that you cannot try to live out a dream that you may have. Because I know a lot of first-time home buyers, it's a dream of theirs to purchase a home. And they're not quite sure if they can purchase a home. You're paying a lot in rent. So if you can afford that rent, $2,000 in rent, I know in this area, apartments
Yes.
and renting houses
Yes,
are pretty expensive
Very expensive.
in this area. So if you can afford that, if you were to make sure that you had your affairs in order, you can more than likely afford to get a home. So don't always think your situation dictates who you are, because it doesn't. And I'll say it again. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. And when that happens, what you got to do is brush yourself off, get up, find somebody who will help you
Yes.
and teach you what to do. And as long as you find that correct person to help you and teach you what to do, you can get your affairs in order to one day own what you thought you could possibly never own.
And let me just say this, in
Mhm.
case you are wondering who out there can help you, I'm going to let you know right now that it's Barbara
Uh-oh.
Grant Proctor right here. Because Barbara,
Here we go.
for a while now, has been giving what I labeled as mortgage counseling. Sorry about that. Mortgage counseling. I would listen to her talk, to the different clients, and I found out what information she was sharing. And I said, Barbara, I said, I didn't know you would give that. And she's like, give what? And I said, that information. I said, but you need to call that something, because that's very special. I've worked with a number of lenders in the past, currently, and they are not doing that. It's like either you fit the bill or you don't. And Barbara will work with people. As a matter of fact, one of our clients, she literally worked with this couple for a whole year. It was so exciting. She worked with the couple for a whole year. I didn't realize that it was going to take that long because it hadn't been discussed with me. So I get the name. I start sending them properties to look at, listings to look at. And the wife would look at the listings literally like every week, every 2 weeks. And I can tell our system lets us know when clients are looking at listings. And so it would always break my heart that she would look at the listing, she'd put a little heart by it to let me know she loved it. But when I found out she couldn't move further, I said, okay, well, she's still hanging in there. So I would then send her texts, I would send her emails, just letting her know that hang in there, it's gonna happen soon. And boom, it did. Last March, the couple was able to purchase their own home. And it did take just about a year.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And that's very exciting.
Yes, it is.
That's very exciting
yes,
when something like that happens. When you see someone that continues, they're determined,
Yes.
they're determined to work through their credit issues, get themselves in order to purchase that home. A lot of times when Jackie and I meet couples like that, that's our dynamic couple there. We give them names. We say, look at them go. We get excited about it, and we get excited about helping them because we cannot believe how determined that they are, and we are just so happy for them when we can get them to the table and get them to the finish line on closing in their homes.
Yes.
So with all that said, we're saying to you too, it can happen for you. It can happen for you. So if you're sitting there and you're wondering and listening and talking, thinking my credit scores are not going to get me there, it can happen for you. So I don't want you to think that because you've had a situation in the past that it cannot be corrected. Because sometimes bad things happen to good people. And so we're going to talk some more about credit scores and what goes into credit scores so that you can understand, and maybe you can look and pull your own credit report, and we can see what's going on with your credit report, and you can have an understanding about your own credit report, give you some more information. So when we get ready to come right back, we're going to give you more information on credit. So stay tuned and come right back to us.
It is key that you mind your mental health.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing this week?
Hi.
Use the 5 keys to mental
Well, this week
movement.
has been a really monumental week for me. I realized that I was not being myself.
Reaching out.
Be positive attitude person self, like you guys know me to be. I was
Staying
listening to
upbeat.
teaching and get back to that happy, cheery self you guys of me.
This week's been kind of
Being
stressful
creative.
because of all of the workload that we have on online learning. So I've been trying to use different platforms and different websites to help ease my mind and ease my stress.
And what about you, Margaret?
Well, you guys know me. I just love to work with others and serve them.
Serving others.
Realize that when I serve others, my mind is off of myself.
That's right. And don't forget, self-care is key.
Self-care.
All right. So see you guys next week.
Right.
Bye.
Your mind matters.
Welcome back to Mortgage Financing and Homebuyer Ready. Just before we left, Barbara was talking about credit and some different things you can do, what the numbers for the credit score, what they mean, the company that it comes from, and just lots of information on that. One thing that I would like to say, Barbara, is that we were talking about the couple, it took one whole year for them to get their
Yes.
finances together to be ready, and that
Yes.
and that mortgage counseling that you love to do and that you do so well. One of the things I'd like to say is many of those clients, they are first-time home buyers in their entire family line.
Yes.
And that's when it gets
Yes.
really exciting for me.
Yes.
And I know for Barbara also.
Yes.
When we've had it's like making a generational change. No generation has had their own property prior to that, and then after that they have their own property, they become first-time home buyers, and then our goal, of course, is that the families continue to have or become home buyers from that point on.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
And as you can tell, I do want to make sure we love all types of buyers, don't we?
Oh,
All
yes.
types.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to tell you a funny story in a minute, but we love all types of buyers. But I know from last week's show and this show, there's a special place in our heart
Yes.
for first-time home buyers, and there's a big reason for that too. A lot of realtors and lenders don't like to deal with home buyer readies, first-time home buyers, because what it entails, right? But we were first-time home buyers at one point.
Yes.
My kids will be first-time home buyers at one point, and I think just no matter what the age, if they're a first-time home buyer, I think it's just that thrill or that joy of them getting to that finish line and signing on that dotted line, and then looking at us and going, thank you
Yes.
for
That's
making
right.
this a reality for us.
That's right. And sometimes we have to really help them to believe that they can do it.
Yes.
I had another couple, they did not believe, the husband did not believe that he could do it. So as a motivational person in my previous life as an educator, I had to motivate the kids a lot. And so I was very good at motivating him to help him to understand that, yes, you deserve this too. You may be the first person in your family to have ever owned a home, but that's a good thing. And you will be able to show other generations that it can be done too. So when he was able to do that, it was wonderful to see this grown man get emotional over that. It was absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And that, I mean, it's awesome. So, but we just wanted to make sure we love all of our buyers
Yes.
and sellers.
Yes.
But your sellers, my buyers, my refinancers, love you all. But I just wanted to make sure that first-time home buyers just have a special place in our heart, and I just think that it's always going to be that way. And then as we get down to some of the more items that we're going to talk about, as the months go on, topics that we pick. We're picking a lot of those topics, and some of the topics will be for first-time home buyers, like the down payment assistance programs that a lot of first-time home buyers like to use.
Although they're not the only ones who
No,
use
they're not.
them.
They're not
And
the
they
only
don't
one.
even know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Because a lot
That's
of people
true.
don't know that.
A lot of people don't know about the
That's right.
down payment assistance
That's right.
because they're not being told,
That's right.
right? Because a lot of people don't like to use them, don't want them to use them.
That's right.
Is that what it is?
That's what it is.
So is that why
Because
they're not being told?
they're not being told.
Okay.
It takes too much time. You have to jump through too many hoops.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you think we better tell them?
I think that's a good idea. We want them to know.
You think we're gonna get in trouble?
Do we care?
No, we don't. That's why we're doing it. Because we want you to know.
That's
We
right.
want you to know what others may not tell you. So, right here with us, we're going to give you more information. So let's get back into these FICO scores. I want to give you a little bit more information concerning what goes into the FICO scores. Now, 35% of your score is your payment history. And what your payment history is, how well you make your payments on time. Now, I want to see how I can say this. Now, I need you to listen to me, and I need you to hear me, and I don't want you to hear me, I want you to hear me in a positive sense, because I'm telling you something, but someone may take it negatively and not use it for good. But I need you to understand it because I get a lot of questions about it.
Okay.
Payment history, okay? When you make a payment, it has to be on time. On time means within 30 days.
Is it 30 days from the date they were originally given?
It's 30 days from your payment due date.
Okay.
So if your payment due date is on the 15th, you have till the 15th. Your payment is due on the 1st of the month, whether it's a card note, whatever it is. But you have till the 15th of the following month to make that payment. You have 30 days to make the payment. If your payment due date is the 15th, I'm using it as an example, and I'm using the middle of the month so you can understand it. A lot of people say, when your payment due date is the 15th, if you don't make that payment on the 15th, then you're considered late and you've messed up your credit. No, you have not messed up your credit. When you mess up your credit And when they will report
Yes,
to your credit
that's
bureau
it, reporting
is
yes.
on the 16th of that following month. Okay?
So you're basically saying they really get 30 whole days.
They get 30 days.
And it's not that they're not going to be late, because they will still have to
You
pay
will-
a late fee.
Yes.
A late
I was
fee.
getting to,
Yes.
absolutely. I was getting to that. That's why I said some people may,
That's right.
I need you to hear me. Hear what I'm saying to you. Because sometimes the fear sets in. And I don't want you to be fearful. Because if for some reason you can't make that payment, you need another week, another 10 days, you can still make that payment. It may be with a late fee, like Jackie says,
That's right.
but you'll make the late fee, but it will not affect your credit. That's with any creditor. Now, I don't want to get my hand smacked for telling you that, because we're told make your payment on time. The due date is the due date. That's the date you should make your payment. I just want you to know, as far as credit reporting, you have 30 days. They report every 30 days. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because you're supposed to check your credit report. You get a free credit report every year, and I will give you that email address where you can get your free credit report from each credit bureau. Sometimes mistakes are made. And a mistake like that can cost you 20, 25 points. Did you know that?
Yes. I do know that.
20, 25 points.
It's called personal experience.
Personal experience.
Yes.
20, 25 points. Just because a creditor made a mistake and reported you late when you were not really late. So those are the type of things that you need to check your credit report for. Right? And as long as you have proof that you made that payment on time, they will have to remove that off your credit report. So again, 30 days to make a payment. I'm not telling you not to make the payment on the due date. Yes, I'm telling you to make the payment on the due date. I'm just telling you, don't be fearful. You still have 30 days to make that payment from the due date. So 35% of payment history goes into the making of your FICO score. 35%.
That's pretty significant.
35% is your payment history. How well you pay your bills. Not if you have a late fee, how well you pay your bills within that 30-day pay period. For those of you that have looked at your credit report, if you notice, they only report every 30 days. Understand? So every 30 days, the credit bureaus report whether you've made your payment on time or whether it was late. So I hope everyone understands that. Again, I'm not telling you to make your payment late. I'm just saying, don't be fearful. You have 30 days to make your payment.
I like that. I like that tip. I
Okay.
think they'll appreciate that.
I hope so. The next thing that goes into, this is a good one. 30%, you have 35% is your payment history. The next is 30% goes in how much you owe, how much debt you owe. Now, you may not know this. Every time you apply for credit, you give them your information. You tell them where you work. You tell them your address. You tell them how much you make. You give them your information. So, when you have a credit card, or when you go to apply for a credit card, and let's just make it easy, you get a limit of $1,000. You get a $1,000 credit limit, and you go and you spend $400 on that credit card. You have charged your card 40%. Well, when the FICO scores are calculating, because 30% is how much debt you owe. So when the FICO scores are calculating on that credit card, they're looking at, well, they have a $1,000 credit line. They spent 40% of it. Kind of high, not too high. Then you go charge another $200. Now you're at $600 on that credit card of $1,000. Now your threshold is getting higher and higher. Then you go and you spend another $100, but you're only paying a minimum payment of $25 a month. So now you're up to $800 on that $1,000 credit card. Well, because of that, the FICO score generates and it looks at that and says, they're spending too much of the credit they were given to them. Why?
And let me ask you, does that score start to go down a little bit, that FICO score?
That FICO score starts to go down a little bit, absolutely.
It does.
Because why? You start to become a risk.
That's right. And that's something, Barbara, that I didn't learn until I was much older. No one ever told me that. So when I am giving advice to our clients or to other clients, I definitely make sure they know about that. I call it a negative ping.
Yes.
You need to stay within the 30% or less range, or you get a negative ping on your credit.
That's
and
it.
you're wondering why. Well, why did it decrease 5 points? Why did it decrease 8 points? That's why.
That's absolutely right.
Yes.
Do you hear what Jackie said? The rule of thumb is 30%. You shouldn't go over 30% of the credit limit that the credit card holder or the loan or whatever, you shouldn't go over 30%.
That's right.
When you go over 30%, then your credit scores start to go down. Now, if you have to use your credit, you use your credit. That's what you got it for. But just make sure if you're getting ready to buy something else like a car or a house, pay it down under 30% so you can get those points back up.
Yes.
And believe it or not, you pay it down, the next month they go back up. So say you owe $800 on that credit card, and then you turn around and you pay $500 on that credit card. The following month when that credit card company reports to the credit bureau and you're now down to $300, those points that was added on because of the limit of $800 will now come off. So it's just that easy for that to bring your scores back down. So if you have several credit cards and you're over 30% of the limit and you want to make a big purchase somewhere, like purchasing a car or a house, bring your credit cards down to boost your credit scores up. Or if you're that good and you can, get your credit card to increase the limit.
Yes. That's one of the secrets that I have
That's a
used.
trick.
Yes, I have used that, and it does work.
Now, I'm not telling you to increase the limit to go out and spend the money. I'm not telling you to do that.
Right.
I'm just trying to give you a couple tips here.
Right.
You know, I'm hoping people don't call me, why are you telling people to do that? No, I just want to give you a couple tips, just a couple of tips, just to help you out.
Right.
I just want to help you out.
Because one of the things I also learned, Barbara, because I decided to do like my own little personal study on all of this, is that the more credit that you have, the more credit that you have, the more usage you have. So initially when I thought that each card I couldn't go above the 30% limit. It's not really on each card. It's the total amount of credit that you have that needs to be below 30%.
Well, no, it's all.
Well, I'm telling you.
All in above. Each card has to be under 30%.
No. Personal experience, Barbara. I'm telling you.
Okay, we're gonna debate that. We're gonna Google that.
May I give you an example?
You can give me an example, but each card you have to be under 30%. You have to be under 30%.
I've been doing this for a while.
Me too. Me too, Miss Jackie. Me too.
No,
so
you're doing.
We're gonna debate. We're gonna Google this. I'm gonna show it to you. We're gonna Google this.
I'm gonna give you an example.
Go ahead.
Okay. So there was a situation that I found myself in, and I needed to figure out how I could work around that situation. So I didn't really, at the time, know that it was the total amount, and that's what I'm still sticking with. It is the total amount of credit that you have. So there are, if you have really, really, really good credit, and I do, they offer you what I like to call free credit. And the free credit, for example, if you have a credit card that has a $20,000 limit,
Right.
$20,000 limit, If that's your only credit card
Mhm.
and you get a balance transfer
Mhm.
of $20,000, that is going to impact you greatly.
If you
it's your
transfer the
only-
$20,000.
because it's your only credit card. But
Absolutely.
if you have as many as I do,
Y'all
and
hear
you-
this, right?
And you cap it at $20,000,
Mhm.
it does not affect it at all. I'm telling you, I can show it to you because I've done it.
If you cap it at
Meaning that I
$20,000
asked them to give me $20,000.
each card.
No, on this one card.
Yes, and you put everything on the one card.
I just needed the money. I put the money in my bank account is what I did. That's what I did.
Don't listen.
That's called a balance transfer. Not everybody can do that. Not everyone needs to do that, but it does work because it's the limit that matters. Because it's the limit of all the cards. So even with me using $20,000, my usage is only like 10%. You
They
understand
do
what I'm
look
saying?
at credit usage.
Yes,
They do look at credit
yes,
usage,
yes,
and they
they
also
do.
look at the income because, like I said, you report that your income. That's where the credit usage is coming from. Is the income to the credit usage? That's what I was going to get to
Okay.
a little later.
All
But
right,
as far
sorry,
as-
sorry.
don't do what she did. Don't. Okay, so that was good though, but that's for all you over 800 score people out there. She gave you a little bit of advice. Everybody can't do that. But that was Jackie's tip of the day. So that was good. So, oh, that was hilarious. But anyway, yes, Jackie, the credit usage. And that's where I was getting to where I said when you report your income and the total amount of credit usage that you have compared to your income, that's where that amount or that comes from. That's where that number comes from. So when you're reporting all of that to the credit bureaus, you're giving them your information. So you need to know what you're giving the credit bureaus because they're going to keep what you're giving them. Even an address from 15 years ago, they're going to keep what you are giving them. So you have to be clear on what it is that you're giving to the credit bureaus, and you have to be accurate because when it comes down to a mortgage, we ask you about all the addresses,
That's right.
right? We ask you about all that information, and that's where we go about things being reported correctly, right? The next thing I want to talk to you about is the length of credit. That also helps you. That's about 15%, the length of credit. So what that means
Is that also called the credit history?
well,
Is that a little
it could be credit history, but the time you've had the credit history, and the time that you've had the credit. But we don't want to get too much involved in that because there's so much more that we could talk about that, and we're going to talk about this. We have more time to talk about
we
this.
do. We have more time to talk.
The time was
about
going so fast. I thought that
we
I
have
thought.
more time.
Oh, we have more time
We
to
do.
talk about this.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
It's so important. We
Is it
need
so-
to- we need to
okay,
make
so-
sure we get that in tonight.
So when we come back, we can talk about the length of credit history when we come back.
Alrighty,
Okay. So we tell everybody just stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Tania McQueen. I'm the Residential Services Manager for Prestige Community Resources.
What our new facilities are respite centers. We're opening 2 in the city right now. Hopefully we'll expand to more. But respite centers are a place where people can come and get a little additional support with their mental health. Our one on Eastern Avenue is for men, and our one on Minnesota Avenue is for women. Our facilities are for all DC residents, especially focusing in on those in Ward 7 and 8. So they're really nice, and I'm excited for consumers to actually see them. What are the services that we're going to provide? Therapy, case management, medication management, all provided by professional staff, a licensed nurse practitioner, psychiatrists, sociologists, social workers, and then our paraprofessionals, our case managers. It's just a place where you can come and get the supports that you need to work on your personal goals, as well as to get your mental health straight. Simple, single adult, 18 years of age or older, a DC resident. You need to have insurance, but if you don't have it, it's okay. Still come, we'll work on getting you insurance. Have to have a negative COVID test, a negative TB test, and be willing to work on your mental health. For more information about respite services, you can contact us at 202-796-5000 or hit us up on our website at www.prestigecommunityresources.org.
Cameras rolling.
Okay, thank you and welcome back. Before we left, Barbara and I were having a discussion about several things, and one of the things was the whether or not you should actually your credit usage, okay, amount. So we're going to move on with that, and we're going to do a little bit of research on that.
She doesn't want to talk about that no more because I was right. So we're not going to talk about that anymore.
And then we started talking about the credit history or credit length of credit and credit history. So that's
it's interchangeable. So it's credit history or the length of credit. So it's the amount of time that you've had credit.
Yes.
So if you're a new borrower, your scores may be in the low 6s or something like that. And in order to build up your credit, it may take several years for your credit history for you to build up to the mid 6s, the 7s, the 750. So don't feel that because you have 1 or 2 credit cards, you get out of college and you have 1 or 2 credit cards and you don't understand why your scores are not in the 700s.
Yes.
It's because it's the length of time that you've had the credit, and that it's about 15%. It's about 15%. But funny story, when I first got out of college, or when I was in college, and for some of you college students that may be watching this, when you're in college, they throw credit cards at you. You can imagine, open a student credit card. So many years ago when I was in college, they threw credit cards at me and I took them. I thought this was a good thing. Even though my mother taught me about credit, taught me all about it, I was in college, I was on my own, and I was going to get my credit card that she wouldn't get me. So, we think like that then, right? So I got my own credit card, and I opened the credit card. There was a limit, like $200, can't remember. And then another one came, and I think I had about a total of 3. And I don't even think all 3 of them together amounted to $800. But at that point, that was a whole lot of money.
Yes, it was.
So I charged those credit cards up, but I didn't pay them. I didn't think.
Didn't pay them.
I just continued on with my education. And I just thought maybe they'd just dwindle away, little $800 would just go bye-bye. I don't even know what I thought. But when I got out of college and I got a job and I wanted to get a car, and I went to the car dealership to get a car, and they pulled my credit, and it was like, Miss Grit, we can't give you a loan. You can't get a card. Your score. I can't remember what my scores were. I don't even know what my scores could have been.
Wow.
But I couldn't get a car.
Wow.
After I got over the humiliation
I was
of
about
it.
to say that's a hard lesson.
It was.
You didn't even know you
That
were
I
going to
didn't even
learn.
That was a hard lesson, Jackie. It was embarrassment. I don't even know. You know what? I'm telling everybody this now because, see, all my friends know that my father bought me my first car. I don't think they know I went to the dealership first to do this. And now I'm telling everybody, oh, goodness, you see this? Because they know my father got my first car. I went back to him at that because my mother wouldn't get it, so I went to my father. So anyway, I couldn't get the car, and I was embarrassed at the time. So all this to say, it was that journey that when I started studying credit and understanding, because at that point I wanted to fix my credit, right? So I figured out, I knew I had to pay those and then how to get it off my credit report. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit later on how to dispute things, and I learned little things. I even went to a lawyer over $800.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you were serious.
Yeah, I was serious.
Hey,
But the only thing I did with that lawyer was get all his information. He didn't know it. I don't even know if he's still living, but if he is, and you see me, I was eating it up. So I was learning. I was teaching myself. And so over the years, that's what I continued to do, is to learn about credit. So the length of credit history. So at one point, I played with my credit so much.
What happened? You have me curious now. What happened?
I had 64 pages.
Whoa.
A 64-page credit report.
Credit report.
Mhm.
Wow.
64-page credit report.
Okay.
And just like what you told me about the transfer balance, oh, I loved them. Oh, I played with that a lot. Transfer. I played with that a lot. I'm not telling you to do that. I played with that because I needed to learn. Just like Jackie said she learned, I learned. These were years ago. I've learned a lot of different things now, and times are different now. Okay, credit has gotten a little bit more savvy. I was a little bit more savvier than credit back then, but credit's a little bit more savvier than I am right now. Okay,
That's a good way to look at it. I
yeah,
like that.
good way to look at it because they're changing these FICOs around. Okay, but I will let you know if I get a little bit more savvier than the credit. But right now, I do understand things that you need to do to try to help your FICO scores. So the length of credit helps you. How long you've had your credit will help you raise your credit score. So don't be upset if you only have 1 or 2 years worth of credit card history behind you. Just continue on. Pay your bills on time. Get yourself another credit card. You know, if you're going to go ahead and buy your car, continue on with your job. And after, several years, you start to maintain. And one thing you do not do, even if you pay off your credit card, do not close your card. That's a lot of things that you should not do, and that's one of the things. A lot of people feel like after they've paid off a credit card, they close it. Do not close it. If they send you a letter and say that if you don't use it, they will close it, charge $5, $10 on it, pay it off. But do not close the card because that's part of your credit history. That's establishing your length. So please don't pay off your credit card because you feel like paying it off is helping your credit, because that's not helping
So
your
paying
credit.
it off is
Paying it off,
okay.
paying it off and closing
yes,
it.
yes.
Correct. Paying it off and closing it. That's not helping your credit. That's hurting your credit. And you don't want them to close it on you because it says on your credit report, closed by the credit card company. You don't want that on your credit report anyway. Okay? So don't pay off your credit card. Just let it sit. And if it sits there for years, just let it sit. They normally will send you a letter and say that they're going to close the credit card if you're not using it. Charge something on it, pay it off, and then let it sit some more. And then that will help
So
you.
you're building that
You're
history.
building your
Yes,
history.
yes,
You continue
yes.
to build your history. Right?
Is there something called a credit mix that might be important, or is that?
Well, credit mix is important. Credit mix is the different type of credit that you have. The things we've been talking about: credit cards, a car, mortgage, student loans, personal loans, and all of these things are different. Like a car would be an installment loan. An installment loan means there's an end date to when that loan's going to end. It's installments. After 5 years, the loan is over. A revolving is a credit card. Use it, pay it. Use it, pay it. Use it, pay it. Student loans, installment, there's an end date. Whether it's 100 years on your student loan, that was a joke. Some people may think, but there is an end date on student loans. So therefore, different mix also helps, and that's about 10%, having that different mix. So we have a lot more to come. I'm not finished with credit yet. I'm really just getting ready to dig into it, but I'm sorry, we're at the end of our hour already,
goodness,
Jackie.
We're at the end.
We're at the
That is
end.
hard to believe.
It's hard to believe.
Yes.
But we are going to pick this up where we left off on our next show.
So we want to say that we'd like to thank you for joining us, so that our goal in teaching you is to help you to become homebuyer ready. And one final thing, we want them
Yes.
to do what? We want them to understand their power to purchase.
And be home buyer ready.
Yes.
We'll see you in 2.